So over the last few years, Bristol has developed, if you like, a graffiti culture in a similar way to Berlin, where the city was, having so much tagging going on. Obviously, in the usual places, such as around railway yards, houses that were overlooking the railways, where uh, travellers and fellow gangs could see the tagging. Obviously, this goes on in all major cities. And there is quite a clear definition, I think, in most people's minds between just tagging, which is people writing their names, and true graffiti, and what is now called street art. So there's three categories, really. Berlin and Bristol had the same sort of trouble developing all the way from the 90s with graffiti. And, as fast as it was cleaned off, public areas or maybe landlords of buildings were encouraged to clean it off, back it came to the point where buildings were really, really disfigured. And here's a snap I took in Prenzlauer in Germany. This is very, very typical of the entrances to apartment buildings that you'll see in many parts of Berlin. Just tagging with the very occasional bit that looks like real art. And here's the next picture, which, here we have quite simple but striking examples which are on the borderline of tagging and artwork, I suppose you could say. So what are the main things that categorise graffiti for me as an artist walking around and seeing it in my home city, which is the home of Banksy, by the way, who has really popularised graffiti as a street art form? Well, the first thing is transience. Graffiti is meant to be transient. It's intended to be transient. The graffiti artists and the taggers, they create their work. They go out at night. It's quick. It's meant to be quick. It's surreptitious. Mostly done under the cover of darkness, in places where they don't think they're going to be caught quickly, because it could be illegal to use spray paint in some areas, such as on the railways. So it's meant to be transient. They know it's going to be painted over, and that is part of the charm of it, that graffiti can be renewed over the years. So the couple of items of graffiti I'd like to show you. Here's a little video I took down at Sea Mills, which is about 3 miles away from where I live. It's basically down on the River Avon. It's the old Roman port, actually. It's got a lot of history behind it. And here we are, and just under the bridge there you can see an unusual bit of graffiti. And here's the same graffiti in a couple of other areas around Sea Mills. So clearly the same person, or possibly the same gang. It could be a gang tag. I've called this the Eggman because I don't know what else to call it. I think it's really sweet, it's really colourful, it's really striking. And that's my other criteria for what constitutes graffiti. Striking, carrying a message straight away. In this case, because we're not sure what it means, the message is, whoever I am, I have done this, I have been here. Okay, so it could just be a meeting point indicator. And here's another one, which again is under a bridge. Graffiti artists like to go under bridges. They're out of the way places. And this is up at the new Severn Bridge crossing up at Severn Beach, which is probably, 10 miles away from me by rail. And it's hard. I can't zoom in on this one because this was taken with a crappy old phone camera. But here's my picture of what this is like. I've called it a sea creature. It's right by the river, where the river's starting to open out into the Severn estuary. So it kind of looks like a jellyfish, doesn't it? this is my depiction of it. And again, what is this? It could be an individual, or it could be a gang marker. I'm sure there are hundreds and hundreds of people who go up to Severn Beach for a healthy walk along the foreshore, go past this 1,000 times a week and never see it, never notice it, never even wonder what it is. I think it's really nice, and it's really colourful. And what's really interesting is that further along the foreshore, I took this picture, and this shows the same graffiti, but I don't know if you can see that it's upside down. And the reason it seems to be upside down is that it's on an old piece of stone block, which has been used as part of the sea defences there. And they've just bunged it in there, and the graffiti is upside down. And isn't that interesting? And that shows you perhaps how long ago the first time somebody was creating this this tag or this picture. Well, I've called it a sea creature, and I've called the Sea Mills graffiti an Eggman. If there's anybody out there who knows the history of these tags and what they mean, or was it somebody who was growing up in that area and then lost interest in it, or are they just gang markers? That's really fascinating to know if there's anybody out there who knows anything about it at all. And I'm going to do some more little videos about graffiti in Bristol, perhaps comparing it to Berlin. And obviously it would be good to talk about Banksy as well, which is all very interesting, how Banksy has developed over the years. So I'll see you in the next one.